Hello there everybody, it's Spartan92 aka Nightmare, and I'm going to apologize if I sound a little bit under the weather, but here's the thing, even if I am just not feeling 100%, this is Rose Guns Days, for crying out loud. I require its beauteous emotion. So, I'm actually good enough to actually do this, so don't complain about my health, goddammit.
What are you doing in a place like this, Zell? I want to say father, but I didn't know what to do.
And honestly, I'm just happy that the gang's all back together. And just... last episode, Meiju is a hell of an MVP. Just gonna go ahead and bring that up right now. Just kind of hiding Zell away the way he did. As well as having, like, it seems like he really does have his own little faction that don't work entirely with the Golden Dragon Society, and they're just more focused on serving the young lord. And honestly, it kind of makes more sense this way because Xiaolan works directly under Li, and Li does not technically want to work with Wang, so, you know, kind of makes sense. So it makes sense that, you know, I'm betting Xiaolan found Zell and probably did this to kind of help out. Although, this is Meiju we're talking about, he's got another motive up his sleeve.
When I was wandering around City 22, looking for some sort of clue, someone suddenly captured me. Why are you all here?
That's thanks to Li Meiju.
Li Meiju?
Zell seemed to know the name, but not much else. He's the leader of City 23's Chinatown. What the hell is a Liddy? My god. He and Madame Rose are close.
Madame Rose called us over, and then Li Meiju told us about your past. And then he told us about this place. Still, there's no proof we haven't fallen for a trap and gotten captured.
I'd like to believe that isn't the case.
A second ago, the man upstairs spoke in Chinese, saying to wait for the boss to come. I hope that boss was Li Meiju.
Shh! Someone's coming. Not just someone, a whole bunch of people.
It was getting noisy upstairs. They could tell that many footsteps and voices were getting closer. We're obviously heading towards the chopping board. Get ready. If it gets nasty, I'll take at least one of them down with me.
Calm down. Let's sit and wait until the last second. They aren't going to treat us carelessly, and I can't imagine that they plan to kill us.
When you say that, I think my worries go away. Without you, we wouldn't have gotten anywhere.
Get behind us, Zell. They're telling this to the assassin! It still wasn't certain that the GDS was on friendly terms with them. The three stood in front of Zell with Oliver at the very front and readied themselves.
What's he saying?
He says the boss is here. He's telling us to go up.
Is Li Meiju here?
I'll let you go up first, Oliver. That's like we always do, right?
Perfect. I'll show you what alleyway guts can do. As they said this, a small face poked in from above the ladder.
Hello there, did you remember me? Oh, by the way, are you coming up? I'm kind of getting hungry at the moment.
Xiaolan!
Someone you know?
Yeah, she's been taking care of me.
Of course, it was more than that. She had also been observing Zell. However, Zell knew well that she wasn't a bad person. This girl truly sympathized with Zell's past and had been the only person in GDS whom Zell trusted.
If she's there, then I'm sure it's okay. I'll go up first.
Hey, Zell. Oliver had tried to be their advance guard, but Zell tapped his shoulder and went up the ladder first. At the top, there was a crowd of grim-faced GDS men, and what appeared to be a high-ranking VIP.
Hello there. Please forgive me for cramming you into a place like this.
Hey, Meiju!
Japanese will be fine. I love the Japanese language. Also, Hotarubi is not your real name. Hotaru, Rapunzel. Which name do you prefer?
Zell, then. That's what my comrades call me.
Understood, Zell.
This was her first time talking to Meiju, but she may have seen his face before somewhere. Though she sensed an intellect not to be trifled with, she relaxed for the moment at his non-hostile atmosphere. Then the four of them were told to go inside bags. According to Meiju, he wanted to invite them to a place without anyone seeing, so there was no need to worry. Xiaolon also said that there was no danger, so Zell decided to believe them. The four of them obediently got into the bags, were lifted into a car or something, and were gently carried away. However, they weren't forced to stay in such a cramped space for long. As they listened to the bustle of Chinatown, they were lowered from the car and placed on the floor of some room.
You can get out now. Also, I changed my clothes. How does it look?
Oh, it actually looks quite nice. Hey, everyone, she said we can get out.
Huh? What's that smell? Huh? What? Did we die and not notice it? A straight shot from hell to heaven? Woohoo! There's Nikomon and Chinese tea snacks. Can I eat it?
But hey, try suspecting poison at least a little.
Holy shit, we got ourselves a good spread over here.
What's going on here? We couldn't help ourselves to all this without knowing the reason.
Well, Lee decided to kind of bribe you. See, here's the thing. He's going to give you a gigantic meal, and then we're all going to work together, save your father, and possibly get rid of Wong. Basically, that's the gist of it. Oh. Does that involve candy? Oh, of course it involves candy. Wait, that's crazy talk.
With a gesture, Xiaolon suggested that they have a seat. However, Zell apparently couldn't hide her confusion at this sudden change in treatment.
This is to make up for locking you in that cramped place. Nothing is poison. Please, try some. Chinese cooking is far more delicious when it's hot.
I've only ever been to Chinese restaurants, so I've never actually tried. I'm not sure if any of it's really authentic, so I've never had the opportunity to try authentic Chinese food. But it has graced my mind, and I do want to at least give it a try one of these times. Zell didn't understand what was going on. She had thought she'd been captured because she failed in her assassination. However, if they'd planned on killing her to silence her, they should have had many chances before now. So what was with this sudden change in treatment? She couldn't eat while she was this lost. Deciding to wait for Zell to let her guard down first, Charles and the others held back their hunger and peered into Meiju's face. Meiju's eyes narrowed when he smiled, as though acknowledging that they weren't as kid-like as they looked. When his eyes opened again, a faint but definitely present coolness had returned to him.
Zell, my main reason for keeping you confined was that I didn't want you to die a dog's death. If I had left you alone, then you would have surely moved forward desperately on a hopeless bet. That would have been a waste. Quite a regrettable ending for the oft-rumored legendary killer of Tokyo's Chinatown.
So, you want me for one more job? Is that it?
At those words, the excited trio's eyes grew suspicious as well. Surely he wasn't planning to force the wandering dogs to attempt another assassination on Madame Rose.
It is as you guessed. I would like to ask Hotarubi to perform one final job.
What do you mean by final?
You don't need to be afraid. He's an ally.
An ally? What do you mean?
There is a person I would like you to abduct.
Abduct?
It was the first time she received a request of that kind. Abduct? Who do you have in mind? I mean, Wong would probably be surrounded by bodyguards, so that would make it a little bit more difficult, but... What if there's somebody else? It sounded much more troublesome than killing. Technically, yes, abducting somebody can be considered a little bit more difficult in terms of killing. For one... Actually, wait a minute. I don't know, killing somebody, you still have to clean up the body or tamper with the crime scene, but why am I thinking about this? Jesus. However, if she didn't accept her father was dead.
The person you are to abduct is a Japanese man being imprisoned by the GDS. Saijo Yukishi.
Huh?
I would like you to rescue your father.
Oh! Wait, what's going on?
I don't know. This is no time for idiots to interrupt.
Lee Meiju-san, I don't understand the meaning of what you're saying.
Just Meiju would be fine, Zell. All those close to me call me that.
Meiju-san, why would a member of the GDS like you request that the hostage father of a GDS pawn like me be rescued? If we did that, then I'd be happy, but it'd be extremely embarrassing for the GDS.
Indeed. And that embarrassment is what I desire.
As
Oh! Oh! I think I get what he's doing. Wong was put in charge of everything right now. If they lost an important hostage, it would be a huge embarrassment to Wong. And the Council of Elders would immediately realize, oh shit, we kind of made a mistake. Meiju, you're back in charge. I think that's what he's getting at. It didn't make sense. Why would Meiju, a member of the GDS, want to see the GDS embarrassed?
There are quarrels even within the GDS.
Xiaolon told them that there were factions within the GDS and that Meiju had enemies on the inside. A falling out between friends in the GDS?
Sounds too good to be true. I'm dumb, so I don't get it. What does it mean?
in other words, if they failed in assassinating Madame Rose, and then had Hotarubi's father stolen away from then on top of that, it would shame the GDS higher-ups. Is that it?
Precisely. The Council of Elders spent a very, very large sum of money to buy Hotarubi. If such a purchase ran away before they could make use of it, that would be quite a blunder.
To a Chinese person, a blunder is more shameful and causes more loss of trust than anything else.
Yes, more talk time with Xiaolon, thank you. I miss doing that voice.
Xiaolon, can this person really be trusted?
He can. He gives me plenty of Snickers and, you know, all the good candy, to be fair.
Oh, don't deceive women. That's my policy.
Liar. You do it sometimes, like that time you told me it was going to be a Snickers, but in reality it was a Three Musketeers. You liar.
Oh, I gave you mooncakes afterwards, didn't I? I see you still hold a grudge.
Oh my god, he's even got a little sweat drop. With that peaceful seeming exchange of words, Zella relaxed her guard a little. Xiaolon had the temperament of a wild cat. She was extremely wary of people by nature. If she was letting her guard down this much, it may have been a sign that it was okay to trust this man a little. A little, not a lot. True enough, to the Chinese, especially to people at the top of an organization, blunders could be extremely damaging. The person who had announced the outrageous plan of assassinating Madame Rose would probably suffer considerably. So he was offering to support Zell's rescue of her father in exchange for this.
It sounds wonderful for me, but we have no guarantees for what will happen after my father is rescued.
This may sound harsh, but no one can make any guarantees regarding what happens after that. Your owners guaranteed your father's safety, and a short once-per-month relationship between the two of you. You've been released from that, so no one will be able to make guarantees regarding you two again. If you treasure your father, you ought to guarantee his safety yourself, right now. Well, on a personal level, I do not want to be your enemy. After all, you are a legendary assassin feared even by me. It would be quite troublesome if I angered you and had some poison mixed into my tea.
Meiju laughed. Zell looked down for a moment, thinking. There could be no doubt that Meiju was using her for his own purposes. True, but it might really be a plan to shame someone, or it could be the opposite. It could be a dirtier plan to send them off to rescue Zell's father only to sell that information immediately before.
He really did sympathize with you at Hotarubi. It's true that he wants you to do a job for him, but he also wants to let you go free at the end.
Xiaolon was an honest kid. Such a person said she was convinced that Meiju wouldn't lie. The idea that he had skillfully tricked this honest kid and was using her as a pawn to gain my trust, that was possible. However, if she refused this offer, she couldn't conceive of any magnificent plan that would result in her father's rescue.
Even I have heard of the feats performed by the wandering dogs. Do you have any desire to lend a hand in rescuing the father of your comrade?
We do. We would put our lives on the line.
Oliver.
But we're dumb. We can't trust that going along with your plan will end in this way Zell wants. In the first place, if you're telling us to trust you, that's not gonna happen. Still, if this is our only chance to save Zell's father...
If Zell agrees, we'll put our lives on the line.
You guys.
You have fine comrades. All that matters now, Zell, is whether you trust me or not.
Zell can't refuse. That's a dirty deal you've got for us. Meiju-san, I don't want to doubt someone like you who has a close relationship with Madame Rose, but...
If you're planning to use Zell and then betray her, give it up. Even if we wandering dogs have lost Zell, we'll definitely find you and finish you off.
Oh my.
Oh my gosh, she's got cute little knives!
Don't worry, Xiaolon. They only said it out of eagerness.
Okay, fine, I won't stab anybody. You better promise me a body to play with later.
Oh, don't worry. I have a few ideas in mind.
It's true that I can't refuse. Do I trust you or not?
And I must trust you as well. If you betrayed me and leaked news of this plan, I would be put in a dangerous situation.
Oh, that's true if you think about it.
By simply talking about this, I have already placed my bet on you. I'm already risking a lot.
It makes sense. Technically, yeah. They're both immediately at an advantage and a disadvantage. Basically, it requires a mutual trust on both sides that they won't betray the other. Meiju can betray them, and the wandering dogs can betray Meiju. It's a win-win, lose-lose situation.
And in exchange, we got a chance to rescue Zell's dad. You'll let us have that, right?
Indeed. This is a chance. I can give it to you, but whether it comes to fruition or not depends on you wandering dogs. However, if it is possible, I want you to succeed. After all, if you fail and are caught, I seriously doubt you could withstand the many tortures that have been passed down by my people since ancient times.
If that happens and we give them your name or something, it'll probably get sticky for you, right?
I will not command you to trust me. However, I want you to decide whether or not you will take this bet. You are free to refuse. However, if you do, you will end up being kept in the underground hotel until things cool down. Even if you accept, you will be under our supervision. Your contact with other people will be limited as well. Even I could not bear to be betrayed, you see.
Also, taking into consideration, Wong is still under the impression that Hotarubi, not Zell, Hotarubi, poisoned Rose. He's still under that impression. So, it's all about timing.
Either way, we're prisoners.
I've already taken on a risk. I hope you give me a little credit for that.
Okay, we'll accept.
Are you sure?
Yeah, but we'll build a plan by ourselves. All we need from you is information. What you want is for Father to be rescued, and you don't care about the process or methods used.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to tell you that, then get sold out and caught in a trap.
Oh, of course, of course. You do not need to report all the details of your plan to me. However, if your plan is not successful, I cannot finish drawing my picture. Therefore, I will actively pass on and suggest any support and information that I believe might prove useful. Of course, it is up to you to decide whether to use that or not. In the end, you are the ones who will be putting your lives on the line. The details of that nature are no concern of mine. You should iron out a plan and prepare until you are satisfied. If you ask, I am willing to provide further support.
If it comes to it, we would be most grateful. Then we're in agreement.
I'll assign Xiaolon as a contact and observer between us.
Well, I am I'm actually quite easy to hide, so I guess that works.
Xiaolon, help Zell.
If you say so, I would be happy to.
And with that, I would ask that all you wandering dogs spend your time here as if it were your own home. I will get you anything you need. Of course, I would be happy to offer piping hot tea snacks whenever you like.
Give me all of the tea snacks.
Zell! It's okay now, right? We can eat now, right?
Charles' stomach made several embarrassing sounds. It totally ruined the tense atmosphere. Charles, you.
Yeah, it's okay. Let's eat. We've got to eat a bunch and build up our strength.
Oh, that's right. Our enemies are the City 22 GDS higher-ups, right? Can't go fighting on an empty stomach. Nice. You know, if we really pulled this off, it might make one hell of a legend, huh?
Without a doubt. After all, if you brought down the Council of Elder higher-ups, that would surely be a great accomplishment.
Would it even surprise Wayne-san?
Oh, of course. It would surely be the greatest operations of the legendary night.
Wasn't the legendary knight?
That was the huge thing where 7 people, including Aniki Wayne, attacked the Caleb family.
Ah, those were the days. Leo-san and the others worked out their plan to defeat Caleb at this very table.
The legendary Leo Shishigami?
Yeah, that's right. You missed me, bitches. I wish I could talk here again, but I don't think I'm gonna pop up anymore. I miss my place in this story.
So, Leo and Aniki Wayne had their planning meeting right here?
Leo-san and the others were here. At that time, I believe Wayne-san was...
I thought Wayne had been captured by Caleb, so he wasn't here.
Shh. Let them have their dreams. That is correct. Wayne-san was also here helping to build the plan.
The trio let out cries of admiration, rubbing their cheeks against the table. Oh god, don't sully their image of their beloved Aniki.
At this scene, Aniki Wayne planned the legendary night. Woo! Maybe we'll become legends too?
Interesting. Damn, I'm shivering.
Wayne-san told us before, didn't he? The legendary knight may have seemed reckless, but it was done after careful planning and preparation.
Yeah, he said it. And he said that a carefully laid plan makes it not a miracle anymore.
Let's do it, wandering dogs. Zell's our comrade. We'll fulfill our promise.
Even if the whole world becomes our enemy, we're on Zell's side. We'll save Zell's dad, no matter what!
After Charles' enthusiastic reply, his stomach made another embarrassing sound.
Eat, boy!
The tension had finally faded and everyone was smiling again. Meiju also wore a cheerful smile and proudly offered tea snacks to the wandering dogs.
Woo! Alright, I didn't do much, but woo!
Beyond the window was the inky blackness of night. However, there were dazzling, dancing jewels scattered about. Are you sure about that? The nighttime scenery, illuminated by gorgeous Chinese-style lighting, might in itself be considered a form of Chinese art.
You see, I think of this night view as the accumulated art of my people.
True. I think it's part of the soul of your people with prosperity and countless personalities mixed together.
And the night view of the American areas in City 23 is filled with their soul. Of course, I am aware that Japanese soul exists in 1-liter glass bottles. As to all that's been going on, I am so very sorry. I heard you were trying to make soy sauce popular, Rose-chan, and I just wanted to support you. Oh, I really must apologize. You can tell I'm so sincere. I was only trying to help.
Wang spoke casually as though trying to smooth things over without a hint of malice. However, if there is no universal truth in war, only the results written about are truth. Then the truth in this matter was clear.
Wang-san, let's do away with this farce.
Are you sure? I sort of like this tone though. Okay, let's both get back to work.
Thanks.
The joviality vanished from Wang's face, and the dignity and calm of a powerful leader returned. The pair returned to their table and sat down. Their soup was now cold, and the delicious food adorning their table felt plain somehow.
Is this your message to us, in response to us not showing you respect?
What do you think? Did you get what we're trying to convey? I do hope your understanding goes beyond mere anger at us for getting in the way of your soy sauce business.
It does.
I see. Well, that's good. Explaining things to fools is the one thing I'm bad at.
Oh, this music.
This is our power. It is because we have respect for Japanese culture and lifestyles that you are able to live as you do. In the end, hegemonism is what rules in this world.
Suddenly, Dies Irae.
The strong swallow up the weak. As the result, their dominion expands without end. However, governing a large area is extremely difficult. Powers eventually decline and split.
Like the Roman Empire? Or even ancient China?
Our ancestors understood this well. If they expanded their territory too far, it would eventually become impossible to maintain.
If a territory grows vast, it comes in contact with more and more neighboring countries, and gets longer and longer borders that are subject to military tensions. To a large country like China, the individual neighboring countries are no trouble. However, they were determined at all costs to avoid trouble breaking out at multiple points at once. Some people say this is why they thought up the system of Chinese tribute. They made neighboring countries show their respect, in exchange for which they respected their neighbors and acknowledged their culture. As a result, the two countries formed a bond of mutual respect, and military tensions relaxed considerably. It's said that Chinese returned gifts were greater than what they received, and that this became a financial burden for them. They brought that up earlier. However, it was probably much cheaper than spending money on defense of their immense national borders. In other words, there was more to the Chinese system of tribute than simply demanding respect to satisfy their own conceit. It was also a security guarantee that was useful to a country with such a large territory.
Let me be clear. You were only able to be Japanese as a reward for the respect you showed us. Why do you think our country, with 10 times the national strength of yours, decided not to destroy the troublesome island nation that blocks the entrance to the Pacific? Why do you think we allowed you to preserve your unique culture? It was because we believed you Japanese respected us as your cultural fathers. However, if we were mistaken in that belief, that changes everything.
You mean we'll be forced to learn the things we took taken for granted? Were actually gifts from you to us?
Exactly.
Wang smiled with an immensely calm face. It felt more cold-blooded than any expression he'd shown so far.
Madam Rose, if you are not a fool, then you should already understand my power.
That's right.
Over the space of a year, Primavera had built a modest utopia based on mutual support between countrymen. Now, thanks to nothing more than a distribution of fake soy sauce, the utopia had struck a moral hazard, which had resulted in the city folk and businessmen being driven by commercialism. This was already beyond the scope of soy sauce culture. Chinatown's distribution network was already sinking its teeth deep into the Japanese areas thanks to purchases of fake soy sauce. One after another, people were tossing aside Madame Rose's request that they prioritize deals with their fellow countrymen. They couldn't reject Chinese merchants, with their cheap goods and massive supply, for something as idealistic as mutual aid between countrymen. Because the masses are dumb. In distribution, the ones who monopolize and gain more control survive by kicking out the rest. Eventually, the Japanese distributors would go extinct, or else they'd transform into mere pipes into the China network. Typo. To liken this to a sick person, it was as though they had stopped their own heart and had attached their blood vessels to a mechanical heart outside their body. All of a sudden, or perhaps Rose just hadn't known it. For some time, the Japanese regions of C-23 had started relying completely on Chinatown distribution. Perhaps Rose's policy of prioritizing countrymen had just been a temporary fad.
Right now, if Chinatown stopped dealing with the Japanese for just 1 week, we could throw you into the depths of chaos.
With a word, the GDS could probably stop all Chinatown distributors from sending goods to C-23. In other words, the next day, all commodities could suddenly disappear from Japanese shopping centers. Even if businesses' owners hurriedly try to change their suppliers, there would be no one to go to. Because by that time, the distribution networks run by their countrymen would have withered away. For small to medium businessmen who were barely managing to get by, it would be as terrifying as lifting their heads above the surface of the water to breathe, only to be dragged down to the bottom again. If they knew the restrictions would end in a week, they might be able to withstand it. However, if it might continue for an uncertain or indefinite period, then all Japanese businessmen would be forced out of business. If that happened, the Japanese colony would go extinct.
If we wanted to, we could go that far. But we don't. If that isn't because of the love we feel for Japan, our child who inherited our culture, then why would we act that way?
Then, Wong paused and sipped at his cold soup. However, he quickly made a face and spat it out into his handkerchief.
Ah! Soup is delicious because it's hot. When it cools down, it isn't worth drinking. However, that doesn't change the fact that it's a waste to throw it away. After all, it's a collaboration between the splendid cooking techniques of our people was honed over 1,000 years. And the splendid ingredients that come from your land. This soup that's made of you and us, what do you say about heating it up again? If that happens, the two of us will be able to share the deliciousness of this soup together. It sounds like a win-win. Happy, happy deal to me.
Assuming we show our respect for the GDS, right?
Yep. The conditions are just as I said before. Return the wages of the Japanese labor union to the level they were at until last year. And offer 30% of the special windows offer to us.
And in exchange, you say you'll give us the same lifestyle we've had until now.
Oh, I can promise an even better one than you've had before. As an area under American military jurisdiction, City 23 may be overflowing with made in USA, but that doesn't fit the needs of the Japanese. They start driving their big cars in this cramped Tokyo, then fuss about how the streets are too narrow and must be made wider. They aren't the people who'd even consider making the cars smaller. Westerners cannot understand Asia. That's why you can accept made in China. We understand that you'd always take spoiled carrots with agricultural chemicals for 70 cents over fresh carrots for $1. Leave it to us. We'll offer you waves of mass-produced poisoned vegetables filled with residual chemicals at the incredibly cheap prices you love. Aren't you happy now? We're far too nervous to eat those ourselves, but since the Japanese prefer things that are even a cent cheaper, I'm sure they'll be happy.
You're actually insulting us, what the fuck?
He was definitely mocking them, but Rose couldn't fight back. It was a perfectly fitting analogy for the Japanese, who had happily sold off the real soy sauce made by those in the soy sauce industry. Sold it off for spare change they used to buy fake soy sauce. By now, the Japanese didn't even have a culture that paid for things according to their quality. Fools who can't understand how price matches up to work don't deserve to buy the real thing. They happily buy cheap, inferior, mass-produced products, turning away from the real thing, just because it's relatively expensive. Claudia may have been right. If a Japanese person These days was offered pig feed they could eat for $1. They would probably get excited at how cheap it was and lap it up.
Has this incident left you disgusted at the Japanese true nature, Madame Rose? We are more capable than you of providing them with the lifestyle they deserve right now. The city will be filled with products and prices will drop. Since they don't think about quality, they will probably greet it with applause saying, "This is the lifestyle I wanted." Haven't you grown tired? Can't you just leave the rest to me?
If Japanese businessmen were swallowed up by cheap, mass-produced, made-in-China goods, they'd go extinct in, say, 23. Oh god, don't play this music, don't play this. All of their countrymen would become mere consumers who simply bought at the asking price. If that happened, they would become less and less able to disobey the GDS. Practically speaking, the city would be ruled by the GDS even more than it was now. However, if they rejected their subordination, Wang would further strengthen his economic attacks, and would probably consume the whole city, not just the soy sauce. It was no longer possible to preserve the Japanese colony, and yet if they surrendered, they would be gradually turned into pets until they died. It was exactly the same as war. You threaten neighboring countries with military force and make them surrender. If they resist, war breaks out, and the strong devour the weak. It was the endless repeating of this activity of humanity, which led to the map of the world we see today. And even that world map isn't set in stone. Arcing over the balance of power continues to this day. The world map we're all familiar with might not remain the same, even just a decade from now. Even that island, which we learned was part of our country in school, and which was once painted the same color as our country. In just a few years, the island might be known by both the names two countries call it, and a few years after that, it may be painted the color of another country. I'm not trying to make a point about which country that island belongs to. The point is that, even without war, an island or two can easily change countries. Japan has only been able to remain Japan until today because the oceans all around it have protected it from outside enemies. Now that methods of easily crossing the seas have been invented, there's absolutely no guarantee that Japan will be able to remain Japan. In such an era, the Japanese, who become a people of a nation defeated in war, may only be able to try and remain Japanese by resisting the gears of history.
If matters progress at their current rate, and even left as they are, you will be ruled by us. There are people who took the real soy sauce, which you got for them after much effort, and exchanged it for cheap, fake soy sauce. And it didn't even take that long. If you still want to protect them, then shouldn't you start by repairing your relations with us as quickly as possible?
You may be right. Maybe the Japanese lost their identity, their desire to remain Japanese long ago. There's a proverb saying that only when basic needs are met can people spare decorum. In other words, unless they have margin in their daily lives, a people has no interest in culture.
Poverty brings simplicity. The poor aren't qualified to have a culture. However, there's still a chance for them to gain the necessary qualifications. If you show respect for us, you'll be able to protect the Japanese communities, which are the final support for your people.
For as long as we maintain our respect for you.
Of course, right? The Japanese may have forgotten it, but small countries all over the world do the same. And despite the vast number of small countries in the world, they're still able to maintain their independence. That's because their respect has been accepted by large countries, and they've been allowed to exist. That's merely something Japan will have to remember after all these centuries, including its period of isolation. It's the common sense of the world. Are you okay? You look a little pale. You haven't started feeling your chest hurt lately, have you?
Don't worry about it.
Go back and have a nice long discussion with Richard. If you can't get the Primavera leaders to agree, please come and talk to me. If you chose to be friends with us, there are ways in which we could assist you.
Yep, he definitely still thinks that she's being poisoned. Practically speaking, today's meeting was an ultimatum. If you don't surrender to the GDS, this city might be overwhelmed at any time. The poor Japanese couldn't fight back against overwhelming economic power and overabundant physical resources. If the act of demanding that Rose make a decision wasn't an act of mercy on their part, then what was it? Even so, Wong didn't try to rush Rose into surrendering. Surely, this was the dignity of a large country, of a king. The most Rose could do was postpone her answer further. The negotiations were already over. She was merely being asked to sign the documents of surrender. If she was concerned with what would become of her convictions after surrendering, then she ought to surrender as soon as possible. During the car ride home, the nighttime scenery was reflected in Rose's tired eyes. Nighttime scenery is a people's culture. How could they stand against the economic power of the ones who had created such an overwhelming city? Japan had only managed to exist because it was protected by oceans. Now that people had come pouring in over the oceans, the Japanese had no way to resist. After all, for centuries they'd refused to build up the strength to resist, and even refused to strengthen their character through hard effort. Even their victories in war had been thanks to their first surprise attack and their momentum. Even if the great disaster never happened, we were a people fated to be defeated and destroyed.
How foolish and weak we are.
It's just the situation. Chapter 5, The Assassin. End. Chapter 6, Reckless Operations. Well, that just tells me immediately it's gonna be bad. Possibly. I don't want to think about it.
This is the place where your father is being held.
Oh! Meiju pointed out at a spot on the map spread out on the table.
Father is here.
That's smack dab in the middle of City 22. Looks like a pretty huge building.
As far as public appearances go, it's a members-only high-class restaurant.
Ah, it was Wong's prized castle, the one Rose had been invited to. This place was Wang Yanhong's castle, his main base and also his treasure box. Zell's father was being kept under tight guard in this massive treasure box. You say it's a restaurant as far as public appearances go. So, what is it behind the scenes?
It is being used as a storehouse for Wang Yanhong's business. He has profited greatly as an agent for smuggled goods. Weapons, ammunition, drugs, and women. If it will sell for money, he doesn't care whether it's organic or inorganic.
So the restaurant part is just his public face.
Yep. A massive open area in the restaurant's main hall formed a cone going 5 floors above the ground. So in that 5-floor section, the floors had large gaps in them and the rooms were set up in a complicated arrangement.
In practical terms, this 5-floor section is Wang Yanhong's treasure house. The money and goods he's accumulated are kept here, along with the many treasures he's gathered.
And that's where Zell's father is too?
In this room.
Meiju pointed to a spot on a diagram. It was a room in the 5th floor treasure vault. That was where Zell's father, Saijo Yokishi, was being held.
It's totally like a safe with no windows.
The walls look thick too. Charles, can you still pick locks?
Haven't done that in forever. It depends on the type of lock too, so I can't make any promises.
That GDS leader couldn't use a cheap lock to protect his prized treasure. It will probably have to go with the frontal attack.
Of course, the key is of a special make. It is made in a design that is particularly hard to copy, and it is the only one of its kind in the world. And of course, Wang keeps this key safe in his shirt pocket day and night with extraordinary zeal.
Ah, that key. It was the key he had handed to Rose when showing off his trick lock. That was the master key to Wong's treasure house. In addition to the drink cabinet, the doors to all the rooms holding his treasure can only be opened with that key. But can it only be opened at a certain time, too?
Then we've got this. Charles E's fingers can manage that, no sweat. If there's a chance to get close to him, I'll pull it off. Are you sure about that? Aren't you going to tell him about the time limit?
Xiaolon is saying that if you're thinking of picking his pocket, you would best give up on it.
What do you mean?
Earlier on the street, I once saw a pickpocket go after Wong's shirt pocket and watched Wong drive the person off.
So he's really cautious.
It's the key to his precious treasure, after all. He might be very aware of its presence all the time.
So even if he got pickpocketed, he would immediately know that it was missing. Then, is there a way that we can replace it? Zell told Charles about this. Charles immediately understood that this wouldn't be an easy opponent and folded his arms. So, there exist people whom even your skills can't defeat.
Huh. Well, yeah. We always watch carefully before deciding whether a target's pickable or not. But some of the time, you get people who have no holes no matter how you work it. It happens a lot for greedy-looking, miserly types.
Yes, Wong would certainly fit into that category.
Okay, got it. So people who think about their wallets all the time don't let their wallets go unguarded.
In other words, it'd be hard even for Charles to steal the key from Wong's shirt pocket?
Impossible, probably. Not even the keys in his shirt pocket. Not when the key's in his shirt pocket. And there's also that device.
What device?
Ah, that foolish device of one young Hans. The ring that can instantly poison somebody? No, oh, literally the requirements to open up the room. Right. I thought he had like an extra defense mechanism on him aside from this. On all the doors holding his treasure, Wong had attached a strange device which made it possible to unlock them only when his clocks were chiming. It wasn't just the drink cabinet in the restaurant that did this. All the doors holding his treasure and hostages functioned the same way. What the hell? What a crazy contraption.
That's not all. The location's bad. He's being held on the 5th floor.
If there's even a slight commotion, we'll be trapped like rats. We've got to work quietly from start to finish.
We wouldn't be able to get out alive.
So using force won't help. For a while, they all fell silent, staring at the diagram.
Let's summarize the important points. First, the key. Without this, it'll be impossible to pull off a rescue.
It'll be impossible unless we have a chance to snatch the key. It's not like people can be perfect 24 hours a day. I'm sure he'll let his guard down sooner or later.
The next problem is the clock device.
Yeah. Even if we succeed in stealing the key, we won't be able to stage a rescue until the clocks chime.
I'd rather not take up too much time. It doesn't take long for greedy people to notice they've been pickpocketed.
How long will it take him to notice?
Well, even if he doesn't notice the moment it gets pickpocketed, he'd realize his pocket feels cool just a few seconds later at worst. What the heck? Then we're stuck!
Even if we snatch it, there's a chance he'll figure it out within a minute.
It'd be impossible to wait for the clocks to chime at that rate. Even though just stealing the key from Wong's pocket wouldn't be difficult, they then had to face the second hurdle of the clocks chiming.
And those aren't the only problems. How are we going to sneak into a members-only restaurant in the first place? Going by its layout, it's probably safe to say that it's impossible to sneak in without anyone noticing.
It's
completely different from sneaking into storehouses, like we've done until now.
It's a members-only restaurant, right? What if Meiju-san makes us members?
They had the backing of Meiju, a leading member within the GDS. It should have been a good idea. However, Meiju smiled grimly. So did Zell.
If it's a high-class, members-only restaurant, I'd imagine most of their customers are older and more plump than we are.
It's not like we could look rich just by dressing up a little.
My apologies. I ask that you propose a different strategy.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was not gonna work.
Think. So, we have 3 hurdles.
First, how do we steal the key from Wong's shirt pocket?
Second, even if we steal the key, the door won't open until the clocks chime.
Third, how do we even get into the restaurant in the first place?
If they spot us, we're finished. That's the middle of the enemy's nest. We won't be able to escape.
We have to work without being found out all the way until the last second.
It sounds almost amazingly impossible. Impossible and impossible again. Still, if we want to rescue Zell's father, we have to give it a shot, right?
Before long, Wong will hear that Hotarubi failed in her assassination attempt on Madame Rose.
There's not much time to postpone her father's rescue.
But doing it by force is out of the question. Then what should we do?
It's impossible. We could never do it with just the 4 of us. Succeeding in doing the impossible is what made Aniki Wayne and the others legends. I don't want to give up. I swore to be Zell's ally, and I don't want to turn back on that promise. Damn right.
Charles, thank you.
That's right. If it's based on a carefully laid plan, then it isn't impossible, but inevitable.
In other words, if we manage to do the impossible, we'll be legends.
Everyone.
If we hadn't met Zell, we'd have died out in the alleys.
It's all thanks to Zell that we've been able to really feel that we're alive. I'll do it, no matter how reckless the plan is.
We'll achieve the impossible and become legends.
And we'll save Zell's, our comrade's father.
Everyone. Thank you.
She was fortunate to be graced with such reliable comrades.
I'm fortunate too.
Why, thank you. But the mooncake I just gave you was the last one.
Okay, you're going to die, boy. Moo.
Ooh. Why did she say that? Oh well. We put our lives on the line. The wandering dogs have gathered. We have a map and information. But damn it! We don't have a plan!
Shh. Be quiet.
Oh.
Assassination mode.
Zell was staring at the open map. This would be her first and last chance to rescue her father. Like Oliver had said, she had comrades and maps and information. If she let this chance slip, another one would never come again.
Meiju-san, I have a few questions for you.
Go ahead.
What's the symbol on the plan for the building?
Ah, it indicates a place locked by the clock chiming device I described earlier.
So, this is another of Wan Young-hong's treasure boxes?
Zell shot questions at Meiju in rapid succession. They were about all kinds of things, some apparently meaningless and some that were surprising. However, they all became pieces that were joined, one by one, inside Zell's head. In that case, wouldn't the plan be to, follow him in? With her eyes still opened wide, Zell punched the plans. She hadn't punched it out of irritation at this impossible scheme. Some sort of miraculous plan had formed inside her head. Oh! Zell thought over and over again about whether the plan was realistic, walking around in quick circles. Oliver and the others fell silent, working hard not to interrupt Zell's thinking.
What the hell is she doing?
It's probably just let her do what she's doing, honestly. She's the genius here. Eventually, Zell stopped suddenly.
I've got it.
Oh?
Awesome, Zell! What kind of plan is it?
If all of us use our power, we have a chance. But if any part of it fails in the slightest, we're all dead.
We knew that from the beginning. We're ready.
Yes. If it's a plan you made, then it's the best plan for us. We won't get scared.
So, what kind of plan is it?
We'll need to gather as much information as we can before I get into the details, but to put it simply...
As Zell wrote symbols on the floor plans with a pencil, she explained her outrageous strategy. It really was outrageous. And at the same time, it would have been completely impossible for anyone but the wandering dogs. Oliver and the others were stunned. The silence was finally broken when Meiju gave a muffled laugh.
Now that is interesting. Yes, it is a strategy that no one but you could accomplish.
Meiju-san, I'd like to ask for your support for this part here. You're the only person I can ask. Please lend us your aid.
Understood. This will be interesting. Leave it to me.
Now, we just need someone to be the lure. If we can find someone for that.
Well, what are you talking about? There's only one person who could do that.
Huh?
You're the only person who could do that job. Oliver and the others grinned at each other, then looked at Zell and smiled again.
Me? How?
What do you mean, how? You just need to act the part as you've laid it out.
This keeps getting more and more interesting.
You seem a little too wait. Huh?
Xiaolong, the only person who didn't understand Japanese, had no idea how this plan would work, and she cocked her head to the side in confusion. She asked Meiju what sort of plan it was, but he impishly laughed and refused to tell her. Starting that day, the Wandering Dogs would bet everything on that plan. What they needed was courage and intensive training. Those were everything. Ooh, I need to know what the plan is! Oh, we're doing this. Okay, let's go. Somebody's practicing their aim. Okay, go ahead. Wait, they're all practicing with guns. Holy okay. Also, I love this new art. They are actually practicing with guns. Oh my god. I'm hitting it more, aren't I?
That's weird. I'm aiming right, but it never hits.
That's because you're holding the gun sideways, you dummy! Charles, your finger's pulling too hard. It doesn't shoot stronger just because you pull the trigger harder.
I just can't stop thinking of it that way.
It's kind of like what happens whenever you're playing a video game and you're intensely focused and you try to mash the buttons or joysticks even harder to try to see if it would make you more powerful. It's the same thing, apparently. The trigger has nothing to do with power. You've got to stay cool when you pull it, just like Aniki Wayne said.
And Oliver, you're wasting too much time trying to look cool when you shoot. Stop breaking your form by trying to act like a know-it-all, and devote yourself to practicing the basics. If you try and shoot all weird again, I'll get angry.
Sorry.
It's true that just holding a gun can pressure your opponent, but if they see you are unfamiliar with it, that defeats the whole purpose. For now, just quietly and faithfully practice the basics. If you do, then just holding up your gun will give you power.
Oh! With a practiced motion, Zell loaded her bullets and readied her gun with a beautiful posture that looked like a form of etiquette. Holy shit, look at that expression on her face, though. Damn! This girl ain't holding back. She's a... Well, to be fair, she is an assassin. She's good at what she does.
Holy shit!
Wow, that was actually kind of hot.
They all hit.
Huh?
She's a professional.
Well done, as expected. There is that rumor of how you massacred all the leaders of an enemy organization at a dinner party with just one handgun.
Otarubi, the legendary assassin, huh?
Shh, don't say that.
I don't mind. It's just something I learned to survive. They're techniques I didn't learn willingly, but I'm grateful for them now. After all, they'll be useful for saving Father.
I fucking love that pose. That's really good.
We'd better not fall behind.
Until now, I've wanted to become a cool man like Aniki Wayne.
Is that why you try so hard to look cool when you shoot?
Starting now, I won't be like that. I'd rather be a wandering dog than a cool guy. With an expression of renewed determination, Oliver held his gun with the neat posture that Zella taught him. Gunfights are brawls, so who cares about good form? That was the assumption he had to throw away.
I'm the same. We're the 4 wandering dogs. Don't put too much effort into your fingers. Don't try to shoot. Try to pickpocket the enemy with the trigger. Ah, I like the sound of that. I'm starting to get hooked to the feel of a gun.
But my god, I love how dynamic these look. Oh, it looks so good. Rose Guns Day certainly does a good job making guns actually look badass, even though I'm terrified of them. The Wandering Dogs hadn't received permission from Wayne to carry guns. However, after careful thinking, Zella decided that they should break that rule and take guns. Of course, it wasn't to shoot with. It was to protect themselves.
And make sure you don't misunderstand everyone. We're training so we can get used to guns, not so we can fight with them.
I know. So we can use them as a bluff if things get sticky, right?
Even as a bluff, it'd still be pretty pathetic if we don't practice.
It's the same as it has been before now. We'll sneak in and break out without anyone finding out.
Victory without pulling the trigger is the best sort of victory for us.
That's right.
Oh, now now that they're adding guns into the mix, I am like I'm really worried for these guys' safety. The strategy would take place in the center of enemy territory. In other words, it was like diving into the enemy's stomach. They weren't genius gunmen like the legendary 7, including Leo. If they got into a gunfight, they would be up against many tough GDS men who had returned from the front lines. It could only possibly end with the Wandering Dogs riddled with holes. So, they were learning about guns to help them escape. If the worst happened, they failed in their rescue attempt, and there was a commotion. This would give them a little extra push in their escape. I'm guessing... The 3 of them quietly continued to fire. Every now and then a strict instruction would come flying from Zell, and the other 2 would listen to it meekly. This repeated over and over.
Will you not practice, miss?
I was about to bring that up. I tried it, but it looks like guns don't suit my hands. Anyway, I've got this.
Oh, an amusing weapon.
That's right, she still technically has a long-range weapon. It may not be deadly, but it can be a very useful weapon.
Now that is a surprise. Your aim is better than those boys with their guns over there.
The Chinese aren't the only ones that can perform skillful feats.
In that case, we must not be outdone.
Understood.
Xiaolon nodded silently, then walked up to the shooting booth.
Xiaolon may not match up to your technique, but she does possess defensive talents of her own.
Oh? Xiaolon-chan, guess you're pretty awesome for a shrimp. I dare you to call me a shrimp again, because I'll break your kneecaps and bring you down to my level. See how you feel.
She didn't understand the words, but she apparently realized that she was being made fun of. Xiaolon looked irritated for a second, then removed her coat. Knife time? Yes! Yes!
Yes, show your stuff. Oh my lord. She's a beast. Whoa. Whoa! What the heck was that? What kind of self-defense art is that? The target is totally skewered. Whoa! I told you not to underestimate me.
She may not look it, but Xiaolon has mastered some of my assassination techniques. She could eliminate 2 or 3 men in an instant.
I'd better not slack off. Practice, practice.
With a look that says, "Don't make fun of me again," Xiaolon stuck her tongue out from behind Meiju's back. Adorable image. Anxious not to fall behind, Nina hurriedly started to practice with her slingshot. Meiju gazed at this amusing scene.
Meiju-sama, Why are they practicing with guns? It's not as though preparing at the last minute will help them.
I imagine Hotarubi knows that as well. This is probably some sort of ceremony. Surely it is a ceremony for them to master the resolve and courage needed to train themselves for something they've never experienced. And most importantly, I doubt those vigorous boys would be satisfied going in unarmed, simply because they didn't stand a chance in a fight.
I see. Hey, Zell. I wonder if Aniki Wayne and the others trained here when they were hiding in the restaurant.
I wonder, did they Meiju-san?
Ah, that takes me back. When Rose-san was in hiding, she polished her gun shooting skills here in order to defeat Caleb.
In other words, Wayne-san taught Madame Rose how to shoot here.
Awesome! We're training in the same place the legendary 7 trained.
We can't lose. Let's train thoroughly here and to become the legendary 4.
Woohoo! We're gonna be like Aniki Wayne! I thought Leo and Cyrus taught Rose how to shoot.
At the time, I believe Wayne was.
He was being held down by Leo and worked hard by Cyrus.
Yep. Ah, I miss that. I miss that so badly. Then again, I really do miss Leo.
Listen up, Charles. This is a dummy version of the key.
It's heavy! That's a creepy key!
It is nearly the same weight and size as the key in question.
Oh! A small but solid-seeming safe was set on the desk. Its design, which was more excessively ornamental than gorgeous, matched Wong's tastes well. For the purposes of this plan, Meiju had obtained a safe and a key that Wong had once used. The weight of the key, its size, and the shape of the keyhole were almost exactly the same. The key had some weight to it, and, if it fell, it would surely make a loud sound.
So this is what I've got to...
Yep. You can't get started without your magic fingers.
Charles played with the large key on his palm like a magician making cards dance with his fingers. It span around as he played with it skillfully, but it eventually caught on his finger and fell to the ground. That hopelessly loud clunk echoed through the underground room several times. It goes without saying that the metallic sound, particularly to dropped keys, carries well, even in a noisy place. On top of that, the real thing would happen in a luxury restaurant. If they dropped it, there was a 100% chance of them being noticed. In other words, a 100% chance of death.
That screw-up just now would have killed us all.
Yep. It would have happened right after you grabbed the boss's key. You couldn't pass that off as a joke. If you can't do it, just say so. It was such an outrageous strategy from the beginning. I can't force you into such a ridiculous plan for my own father's sake.
Without speaking, Charles continued to play with the key. Then, he stuck it into the key to test the feel of turning it.
I'm not scared at all. As an alley rat pickpocket, death was always right beside me.
Who would show mercy to a dirty pickpocketing brat? They would just beat him and kick him until he died, then toss him in a garbage bin. And no one would stop them. Even if he was lucky enough to survive, if he had even broken a bone, that would be enough to finish him. After that, he'd only be able to crawl along the earth, fish through garbage bins, and weaken until he died.
That's not what's got me scared. If I screw up, my comrades will suffer. That's all.
If you did mess up, none of us would hate you for it. After all, if it weren't for those fingers of yours, we wouldn't have had any hope in the first place.
Thanks, Al.
The same goes for everyone, and for me too. In other words, we're all in this together.
We're comrades, after all.
No, that's not it. We're family, so we can trust each other. You may have been uneasy when you thought about comrades suffering because of your mistakes, but you'd never been afraid of a comrade's mistake killing you.
You're right. Now that you mention it, that's true. Well, screwing up and troubling everyone else is basically my role. I can't even imagine Oliver or Nina screwing up, much less you.
I'm the one who can't imagine you failing.
Charles scratched at his head, acting embarrassed, but his expression had already grown calm.
In that case, let's talk about positioning.
Yeah, your position is right there, in front of the table.
As Charles toyed with the key, he stood facing the table with the safe on it. That was in the corner of the room. Zella ran around to the corner diagonally opposite it. The underground room was fairly large, and the distance between the two corners was about 15 meters. Over there was a target as tall as her chest, covered in a blanket. Charles glanced over his shoulder at her position.
That's our target? Looks pretty far away.
Yep, this is the exact distance according to the plans.
Let's give it a shot.
One moment he seemed to be playing with the keyhole, and an instant later the key suddenly and silently shot backwards from under Charles' armpit. It landed at Zella's feet, making a noisy sound. If it had landed onto the cloth of the target, it wouldn't have made a sound.
Just snatching it is no big deal. But this is a first for me. Throwing stuff as accurately as this.
We can make up for it if your aim is slightly off, but don't count on that.
I know. From here to there is my world. I'll pull it off perfectly.
This is such an interesting idea, though. Relying on trying to toss it properly. Once again, the thrown key landed on the floor far from the target.
If I've got to pick this up every time, it'll waste our training time. Could you give me a pile of stuff, anything as long as it's the same weight in size?
Leave it to me. I will bring you a mountain.
So, think you can pull it off?
It had to be done with minimal movement, and in an instant and accurately. On top of that, he had to throw it at the target with his back almost completely turned.
This is getting interesting. Let's do it.
Alright. You can do this, Charles. I believe in you.
Oh my. Meiju-sama, I don't understand what sort of special training this is. I could understand pickpocketing a key, but throwing it?
You'll understand eventually, but it certainly is outrageous.
It's a rather risky gamble of a thing, though. You'd have to get the aim absolutely perfect. Ugh. Nina was in a Chinatown back alley. Practicing her aiming, she'd apparently just had her slingshot band replaced with something more powerful. Nina pulled on it repeatedly, getting her hands accustomed to it. Now this thing's got power. And it's sturdy, too.
I made it specially according to your request.
That also means I'll need more power to handle it. When I pull it back with all my strength, my arms start shaking.
Nina, how's your new slingshot?
Oh, she's a fighter, but worth breaking in.
Zella appeared on the roof of a storehouse. So what's her deal? Is she going to be acting as a distraction or something? She was holding a bag filled with empty cans. She lined those cans up on the edge of the roof. She's probably going to use them as targets for Nina's slingshot. By the way, there was a river ditch behind the storehouse. Missed shots wouldn't bother anyone.
I know you've got perfect aim, Nina. Still, try and see if you can do it with that slingshot, which needs more power.
Here it comes. Let's do this. All right, Nina's turn.
Also, I like how the cards that were initially, Rose and the rest of the gang are now replaced with the wandering dogs. Or maybe it's just specifically for these guys' team attacks. Regardless, I like it. Nina's skill was as impressive as ever. With a faint sound, empty cans were knocked over one after another. However, she suddenly missed a target. After that, she couldn't hit them all at all anymore. And even eventually she was panting, left unable to even pull back the band.
Whew. This takes power. My arms are shaking.
Apparently, pulling back the strong band required a significant application of force. Nina's thin arms were screaming and shaking.
Think it'll be tough? We'll need a lot more power during the real thing. If you can't do it, just say so. We'll just have to think of a different plan.
You're kidding. I know how hard you worked to iron this plan out.
There could be no other plan. She could tell this was the only plan the Wandering Dogs could use to attack the GDS VIP's castle.
Just need to get used to it a bit. I've still got lots left in me, so bring on the training.
With a bold smile on her now sweating face, Nina fired off another shot. However, the shot went in entirely the wrong direction.
Let's take a quick break and get used to it with a slightly closer target.
You're joking.
If I'd make that mistake during the real thing, we'd be dead. It'd be better to die from someone else's mistake, so I could say, why'd you screw that up, dumbass, in the next world? Even if we end up dead, I couldn't bear to be the one who screwed up and took everyone else with me. I can't let something like this get me down. I'd be too embarrassed to face the other two. Time to pull myself together and give it another go.
Nina's passionate flames burned away the ineptitude or of the fatigue that had stopped her arm. After she wiped the sweat away, she could certainly see the blazing flames within her eyes. You could. Right now, her physical strength was less than Charles or Oliver, but when she had been young, boys had been no threat to her. She'd been a fearless, peerless brat girl general, leading the brats in her community. A brat general like that wouldn't work as a lady of the evening, not just because she was a woman. This right here and the trial she was going through right now were what she wanted more than anything.
That's enough charging my spirits. So, line up a bunch more empty cans. I'll keep moving forward. Time for Ninagi Nina to show her guts.
Go, Nina! I fucking love the music that Yukishi has. It's just so goddamn good. Booyah! The battle between Nina and the empty cans Zell set up on the roof continued on and on.
How dexterous. So even a child's toy can become a fearsome weapon when perfected.
I see. It's an exercise that increases her burden by putting the target in a high place.
No matter how powerfully she pulled back the band, it could never become a replacement for a handgun. However, if she used that power to throw grenades, this might make for a powerful yet accurate grenade launcher.
I see. So that's what this is.
Grenades are heavy, and their area of damage is significant. Unless they're thrown with significant force, they can be dangerous to the user. With this powerful slingshot and its powerful band, something like that might be possible. However, after seeing that key pickpocketing practice Charles had been doing, it didn't add up. Weren't they focusing on doing this secretly since they had no chance of winning if they were discovered? But seeing Nina's full-powered training, this was starting to look like a strategy relying on over-the-top force.
I don't understand, Meiju-sama. Just what on earth are they planning?
That's a secret, but it certainly is outrageous. You should think it through yourself.
What? Are you telling me to actually think about this myself? No, you'll give me the answers and the mooncakes. That's the deal.
Xiaolon folded her arms and puffed out her cheeks, looking displeased, and that sounds adorable. Head pats. Just what was this plan, which even Meiju called outrageous? That building containing the luxury restaurant was truly Wong's castle. Of course, Wong's subordinates were all veterans. Rugged men who had survived the vicious fighting against the Kwantung army. The legendary Leo Shishigami may have managed something, but these weren't opponents who could be opposed by a few boys and girls who never even held guns before. Their only option was to carefully hide their presences and clean things up without raising a ruckus. As she watched the cans go flying, one after another with small, satisfying sounds, Xiaolon cocked her head inquisitively. So that just leaves it up to Oliver and what he's going to do. We saw Charles as part of the plan, which is the easily, I'm guessing, to replace the key itself. And I'm guessing Nina is... Oh! No, that is really too crazy. That can't be it. Okay, I just had a weird idea. Nina fires it perfectly to knock the key out of Wong's pocket at the exact same time that Charles throws the fake key into the pocket. However, that seems something that's going to be incredibly difficult and almost impossible to Actually, shit, that kind of sounds outrageous enough to work. Huh. But what is Oliver going to do? It does have me curious. However, that is where I'm going to end it for today. Okay, so we got a glimpse into the overall plan that they're going to use to rescue Zell's father. Also, Oliver and Charles have started using guns, and they got their own sprites for their guns, and of course, Charles has to hold it sideways. Of course he has to. Of course. Oh my god. Oh, those are so good. I'm excited. I'm scared, but I'm really excited to kind of see what kind of plan that they're going with. But anyway, if you all like this, be sure to let me know. So thank you all very much for watching, and I will definitely see all of you guys in the next heckin' video. Holy fuck!